15 years ago. You are a lanky and malnourished 15-year-old kid living in the darkest corners of the toughest projects in the city. During the day, you work as a corner boy, keeping watch and observing the movements of the cops and rival gangs. At night, you hold your 5-year-old brother to sleep in a room with crumbling drywall and a leaking ceiling. Everything you do is just so both of you can survive one more day. But in this line of work, peace is only a temporary illusion. One night, hell descends on your turf. The syndicate arrives to clean up the area and wipe out the competition. Your small crew is mercilessly massacred in a sea of blood. In the midst of the chaos, you end up cornered. The cold barrel of a gun points directly at you and your little brother, who is crying in terror. You fall to your knees, swallowing your pride, and beg the killer to spare your brother's life. The hitman looks at you, lets out a mocking smile, and tells you in a contemptuous voice that he is impressed by your brotherly love. And because of that, he states he will let you continue being brothers in hell. In the fraction of a second that the killer lowers his guard, fueled by adrenaline, you lunge at him to snatch his gun. The hitman has extremely fast reflexes. A shot rings out. The bullet grazes your ear just as you manage to deflect his wrist. A desperate life or death struggle begins. Amidst the shoving, the gun goes off accidentally, and the bullet lodges in the killer's stomach. You take advantage of his surprise and snatch the pistol from him. The hitman falls to his knees, clutching his stomach with blood spilling between his fingers. Now it is his turn to beg. He says he has an elderly mother. Your heart beats as if it wants to burst out of your chest. This is the first time you find yourself at the point of no return. You pull the trigger. A dry gunshot. A prolonged silence. Then the sound of applause echoes behind you. You spin around. Your brother is being held down by another group of hitmen. The person who just clapped steps out of the shadows, and it is none other than the Kingpin. His eyes are cold as steel, but they gleam with amusement. He loved your raw, instinctive performance, so he offers you a way out. He wants to recruit you as his new hitter. You know it is an invitation to enter hell. However, you look at your trembling brother, observe the corpses around you, and realize a harsh reality. You cannot be afraid of going down to hell because you were born there. You raise your head, stare straight into the Kingpin's cold eyes, and give him your answer. You tell him that you will go with him and that your life belongs to him, but with one single and unbreakable condition: he and his men must stay away from your brother forever. The Kingpin stares at the malnourished kid, who does not fear death, and bursts into a roar of approving laughter. He accepts your terms. On that dark night, your unbreakable blood oath is signed. The Kingpin's health has severely declined due to kidney disease, forcing him to live in hiding and undergo dialysis in secret at a remote compound in the mountains. Returning home from this secret hideout, you freeze at the doorway. Your brother, now 20 years old, grits his teeth bearing the pain, while stubbornly using a homemade machine made from an old motor to tattoo the symbol of the Grim Reaper on his chest. Blood oozes, but his eyes shine with excitement. Full of euphoria, he brags to you that tomorrow he will participate in his first kidnapping and hit for the crew. Witnessing that scene, fury takes hold of you, and your eyes become bloodshot. You yell at him and flatly forbid him from participating in that snatch and grab. Your brother, infuriated by your yelling, replies that you have no right to forbid him since you yourself are doing that same dirty work. This truth makes you completely lose control. Blinded by anger, you lunge at him and slap him so hard his head spins. He glares at you, his eyes full of hate, and runs out of the house. After he leaves, you are left alone, listening to the heavy beating of your own heart. You know he is right. You have no moral high ground to lecture him, but you also know this path is a dead end. You take a deep breath and decide you must get him out of the city, whatever the cost. You go to an underground dive bar to look for the fixers who will help you smuggle your brother across the border into Canada. Suddenly, a rival lieutenant sits in front of you and puts 2 clean US passports on the table, along with a duffel bag containing $1 million. Your survival instinct kicks in immediately. You have lived long enough in this world to know this is just the bait in a mousetrap. The man takes a drag from his cigar. A sinister smile appears on his face, and he tells you he supposes everyone participating in tomorrow's purge will end up dead. The color drains from your face. You violently grab him by the collar of his shirt and growl, asking if he dares to do it. He brushes your hand away with a smooth and arrogant gesture, replying that you can believe him or not. Then he coldly continues and demands the license plate of the truck that will transport your old boss's dialysis fluid next Tuesday, warning you not to make him wait. He exhales the cigar smoke directly into your face and leaves. You freeze, staring at the passports on the table. Inside you, the balance between loyalty and your own flesh and blood teeters violently. That night, inside your stifling apartment, reeking of cigarette smoke, you sit in complete silence enveloped by the darkness. On the table rest a burner flip phone, 2 US passports, and stacks of bills totaling $1 million. Your mind is torn in two. The memories from 15 years ago hit your skull like hammer blows. You still perfectly remember the frantic beating of your heart when your hands were stained with blood for the first time. Although you were forced into this world by an extreme situation, it is impossible to deny that the old boss was the one who pulled you and your brother out of the miserable mud of the projects. Throughout all these years, he treated you both extraordinarily well. And above all, that unbreakable oath you made, stating that your life belonged to him, keeps echoing in your ears, completely tearing apart what is left of your conscience. But from the next room, the metallic sound of a gun being loaded breaks the silence. Through the crack in the door, you see your little brother putting on a bulletproof vest, eager to participate in the early morning massacre. He is just a kid who has never spilled real blood. You know with absolute certainty that tomorrow he will only serve as cannon fodder to protect the interests of others. You squeeze your eyes shut as a cold sweat soaks your forehead. You try to numb your own guilt by convincing yourself with a reasonable lie. You tell yourself that the mountain safe house has 3 rings of security and 50 shooters heavily armed with automatic weapons. Stopping a simple medical truck on the outer perimeter will not be enough to kill the boss. Surely the traitors only want to cut his supply lines to force him to sit down and negotiate. With a trembling hand, you pick up the burner phone and slowly type in the license plate of the medical truck. You press send. Seconds later, the device's screen lights up with a short message from the rival lieutenant, confirming that the transaction is complete. You throw the phone in the trash and stand up. You grab your rifle and burst into your brother's room. Before he can react or say a word, you smack him squarely in the head with the stock of the weapon, knocking him out cold instantly. You carry your brother's passed-out body to the dark alley and throw him into the back of the smuggler's van, handing them the money and the passports. You order them in a cold voice to smuggle him across the northern border that very night. As you watch the vehicle's red taillights slowly disappear into the darkness, you feel like a huge weight has been lifted off your chest. Your brother is going to live. But you have to stay. You are staying in this hell to pay your blood debt to the man who saved your life. The early morning covers the isolated wooden cabin at the top of the remote Rockies with a thick fog. The cold air bites at the skin. The constant mechanical hum of the dialysis machine echoes in the room with a macabre and chilling sound. The kingpin lies motionless in bed, with his eyes tightly closed and breathing so weakly that it seems about to stop at any moment. Suddenly, the tranquility of the mountain is violently shattered. The fog is blown away by the deafening roar of the blades of an Army Black Hawk military helicopter flying right over your head. 1 second later, the loud explosion of a missile shakes the earth and the foundations of the property. The windows shatter into thousands of pieces. Through the static-filled security monitors, you witness a terrifying scene. The elite SWAT teams have easily penetrated the 3 security rings. Your 50 shooters guarding the outer perimeter are being massacred, dropping like flies under the hail of bullets. Witnessing this horrific carnage, you realize with panic that your little betrayal has unleashed a hell much crueler than you ever imagined. In the rush, you lift your boss and drag him with difficulty toward the basement, looking for the entrance to the secret tunnel that leads out of the compound. Just as you approach the heavy tunnel door, the phone in your pocket begins to vibrate violently. You pull it out and see a message from your brother's phone number. But it is not the notice that he has crossed the border safely. It is a photograph. In the picture, your brother is still lying unconscious in the back of the van, But now the cold, dark barrel of a hitter's gun is pressed directly against his temple. Below that terrifying image, a text message chills your blood. The message says you have exactly 3 minutes, and the rule is an eye for an eye. The whole world collapses at your feet. You feel as if an iron grip were crushing your heart and stealing your breath. You are completely backed into a corner and do not know what to do. Amidst the terrifying roar of the AR-15 rifle bullets shattering the wooden walls and filling the air with suffocating smoke, you make a decision. Slowly, you pull out your custom Glock. The same hand that served as a human shield to protect your boss for 15 years now raises the barrel and aims directly at the wrinkled forehead of the man who saved you from the gutter. You have no other choice. Your own flesh and blood, or your debt of loyalty. The 3 minutes start ticking. 80 seconds. 75 seconds. Salty sweat blurs your vision. Your index finger resting on the trigger of your custom Glock trembles uncontrollably. Suddenly, a hail of bullets from the military helicopter's machine gun shreds the wooden roof of the cabin. Debris flies in all directions. A sharp piece of wood drives deep into the kingpin's thigh. The sharp pain makes the old man slowly open his eyes. He stares at the barrel of the gun, pointing at his forehead, and then observes the face of his most loyal bodyguard, distorted by despair. He understands everything instantly, but in his eyes there is not a single ounce of anger. The old boss sighs wearily and tells you calmly that you must be very worried about your little brother. Gathering what little strength he has left, he gently lowers the barrel of your gun and whispers to you with a trembling voice. He tells you that he has already guessed the identity of the rat and assures you that the coward will not dare touch your brother as long as he is still breathing. But he warns you of a brutal reality. If you pull the trigger right now, no one will be able to threaten that rat and your brother will die for sure. With a trembling finger, the old man points to a painting hanging on the wall. You immediately understand the kingpin's intention. You rip the painting off the wall, and inside a hidden compartment, you find a briefcase containing $10 million in diamonds. You glance at your phone screen, only 20 seconds left. You look at the briefcase, and then at the man struggling to breathe. You decide to go all in. You quickly grab the medical kit and sling the briefcase of diamonds across your chest. With a strong kick, you smash through the burning door and plunge into the darkness of the secret tunnel carrying the kingpin. Now, you have officially become the most wanted man hunted to death by both the feds and your own syndicate. After 2 hours of running desperately through the thick forest fog, with burning lungs and muscles on the verge of tearing, you manage to infiltrate an abandoned silver mine deep in the mountains with the kingpin on your back. You lay the old man against the cold rock wall and quickly open the emergency medical kit. With the cold blood and precision of a seasoned vet, you use tweezers to extract the wood splinter from his leg, stitch the raw open wound, and inject him with a heavy dose of morphine. The kingpin's breathing slowly stabilizes. He looks you in the eyes and nods in a silent gesture of acknowledgement. At that precise moment, your phone rings once again. You answer cautiously. Through the speaker, distorted by a bad signal, you hear the voice of a panting and cursing smuggler, confirming that the transaction is complete and that your brother is already stepping on safe solid ground in Alberta. You exhale all the air from your lungs and drop your heavy head onto your knees. An intense wave of absolute relief washes over your entire back. The terrifying photograph of the gun to the head was just a cheap trick, a psychological bluff to force you to pull the trigger. Your risky gamble worked perfectly. You look at the armored briefcase containing the $10 million in diamonds, and then observe the old boss who is now sleeping deeply under the effect of the narcotics. You have achieved what seemed completely impossible. You survived the hail of bullets from the feds, flipped the script on the rat, sent your brother to a completely safe zone, and in some miraculous way, managed to keep the last piece of conscience you had left. However, fate always has a rather twisted sense of humor in the criminal underworld. When you reach into the bottom of the medical bag looking for the last roll of bandages, your fingers suddenly hit a pile of sharp glass and a puddle of cold liquid. The single bottle of dialysis solution, the vital substance that would keep the kingpin alive for the next 24 hours, was shattered by the impact of a stray bullet at some point during the ambush. You grit your teeth in the pitch black. The death clock has started ticking again, and you decide you must find a clear escape route before the sun comes up. The effect of the morphine wears off completely. The Kingpin begins to suffer violent convulsions on the dirt floor. The accumulated toxins from his kidney failure severely attack his body already weakened by the wound. His breathing becomes increasingly heavy, his skin turns pale, and a strong smell of ammonia begins to emanate from him. Panic completely takes hold of you. You try to think and move faster. As you approach the exit, you crawl with extreme caution to the mouth of the mine to assess the situation. Down in the valley, a swarm of soldiers relentlessly combs the area. They use fierce tracking dogs and drones equipped with infrared cameras, scanning every inch of the mountain, looking for the corpse of the big boss. A feeling of extreme helplessness and guilt tightens your chest like a noose around your neck. You have saved your younger brother's life, but in exchange, you have dug the Kingpin's grave with your own hands. If you carry him on your back and make a run for it, you will both be torn to shreds in seconds by the bullets of the enemy troops surrounding you. If you stay hidden in the darkness of the mine, the old man will surely die this very night. You grit your teeth in fury and throw a desperate punch against the rock wall. All your extraordinary efforts to hold on to even a shred of conscience have now turned into a cruel and ruthless joke of fate. Suddenly you remember that you still have an ally on the other side of the battlefield. You pull an encrypted satellite phone from the bottom of your backpack and dial the direct line of Commissioner Garza, the state police top brass, who has taken tens of millions of dollars in payoffs from the Kingpin for a decade. Someone answers. Without hesitating for a second, you make him an offer he cannot refuse. You tell him you have a briefcase with $10 million in pure diamonds and that you need an unmarked medical chopper at the old stone church on the south slope in exactly 20 minutes. Garza's voice sounds monotone and chillingly cold through the satellite signal, confirming that the rescue team will arrive on time. You hang up the phone. A small spark of hope ignites in your chest. Gathering every last drop of your strength, you put the Kingpin on your back, grab the steel briefcase, and leave the dark mine. You trudge through the freezing night of the pine forest of the Rockies. The old man's blood keeps dripping, soaking your shoulder with every step. Finally, the silhouette of the ruined stone church appears in a clearing. The deafening roar of a helicopter's blades echoes in the distance until it reaches your ears. You look up at the sky and force a smile, whispering with relief that they have finally arrived, that you are going to survive. But that joy fades in an instant. Behind you, the furious barking of tracking dogs rings out. The feds have caught up to you. The pilot yells from the air that he has absolutely no intention of landing under enemy fire. He drops a rescue basket attached to a cable and yells that you have 10 seconds to decide which of the two of you will go up. At the exact moment you decide to sacrifice yourself and stay to die, to fulfill your blood oath, a sharp, tearing pain pierces your abdomen. A cold steel blade has been driven into your side. You lose your balance and fall to your knees. The old man you were carrying on your back, the same one who seemed on the verge of dying, has just stabbed you in the back. The Kingpin stands up with absolute coldness, takes the briefcase of diamonds, and climbs into the basket. He signals the pilot to hoist him up. He looks down at you with an expression of total disgust and tells you that he got tired of playing the good guy. He spits on you with contempt, telling you that he raised a dog for 15 years and that it was about time the animal died for its master. You are left lying on the freezing dirt, clutching your bleeding wound, watching the helicopter slowly abandon you in the darkness. You bitterly accept the harsh reality that you were played like a pawn. You completely forgot the true ruthless nature of these gangsters simply because they played at being your family for years. The wound in your stomach is too deep, and the blood loss is massive. You can feel your body slowly growing cold on the dirt. However, despite being about to take your last breath, you feel a strange and deep relief inside.